What's up, everyone? This is Cronus, aka Adam, back with another WWE Week in Review, where I, as always, go over everything that happened this week in WWE from Raw, NXT, and Smackdown. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Social media is down there. I got a lot to go on. Just did my my AEW Week in Review, and I'm also going to be hitting up my the horror show at Extreme Rules, previewing predictions. Such a stupid name. But we are on the go-home shows for that pay-per-view. That'll be happening tomorrow night. So we're going to just jump right into it. We're going to go into Raw. So we start off with the VIP lounge. Dolph is his guest. Dolph says he likes the new belt. He may get something for himself when he wins his belt against Drew. Says Drew never thanked him for everything he did for him. MVP thanks him since no one else will. Drew's music hits. Drew says Dolph always uses people. Mandy, Big E, him. Drew gets serious about what he's going to do to him. You know, his usual, I'm going to dismember you. I'm going to maim you. Whatever else he says. But he says he can't wait. He ends up jabbing Dolph and then does a fake shot to MVP, who flinches. We then get a backstage interview with Angel Andrade and Zelina. Charlie brings up the dissension. Zelina says it's false. They have a match against the Raiders tonight. Zelina goes after Charlie's hair and shoes, and even the guys are like, whoa, calm down a little bit. You're getting a little too mean there. Raiders show up. Garza and Andrade have dishonored the competition and dishonored their friends, the Street Profits. So Charlie apparently gets distracted by Ivar, and he grabs the rose that Angel Garza had and gave it to her. Damn you. Both of you. Damn you. Okay, so we get a tag team elimination match, which is different than usual. Raiders versus Angel Garza and Andrade. Garza and Andrade go right after the Raiders at the bell. Garza goes to throw the pants but misses. Gives Ivar the ability to get the hot tag to Eric. Super kick by Garza on Eric, and then a hot tag to Andrade. But we get double knees and a hammerlock DDT by Andrade on Eric to eliminate him. So Ivar goes for a suicide dive, but Garza drop kicks him on the apron. Ivar eventually gets the dive on both of them. Andrade pushes Garza out of the way to avoid a handspring elbow. So this was like, you know, looking at it like, oh, okay, maybe there isn't as much dissension as we think. You know, they're pretty on the same page there. So blind tag by Andrade, catches a spin kick by Ivar, and Ivar eliminates Andrade. I don't know what I feel about that as a spin kick. But we get a super kick by Garza, seated senton by Ivar. Another spin kick by Ivar, but Andrade gets Garza's foot on the rope to break up the count. Ivar goes for the seated senton again, but Garza counters into a powerbomb and gets the win. So once again, now that the Raiders are kind of done with their rivalry with Street Profits, they're just pretty much going to be not jobbing out necessarily, but just losing nonstop to Ivar and Andrade to allow them to be the number one contenders. We get a backstage interview with Ruby Riott. They're about to go to a video, but the Iconics show up and tell them to tell Sarah to shoo away, which is good because just throwing nonstop going to video packages can be boring. They say she doesn't have any friends for their tag match tonight. Ruby says, "Oh well, that's your cue." And of course, we're all thinking, "Oh, okay, here comes Liv Morgan, Ruby, Riot Squad reunion." But no, pleasantly surprised by the return of the EST of WWE. It is Bianca Belair. She cuts a great promo on the Iconics, just absolutely shits on them. Clap, and then Ruby Riott goes, "That what she said." Iconics are not very happy to see Bianca Belair. Obviously, they don't care about Ruby Riott, but they're not happy to see Bianca Belair because they know what Bianca can do to them, and she does. So we get the tag match, Ruby and Bianca versus the Iconics. Ruby with pinning attempts on Peyton to start, standing STO for a 2 count, blind tag to Billy by Peyton, who hits the boot on Ruby for a 2 count, spin kick by Peyton, but eventually she gets the hot tag to Bianca, takes out Billy. Handspring hits Peyton with a moonsault on Billy. Peyton breaks the count. Ruby with an enziguri to Peyton so Bianca can hit the KOD on Billy for the win. This was great to see Bianca Belair back. She just absolutely shitted on the Iconics just to prove, to kind of remind us, wow, she is freaking awesome. Like, she's really good at what she does. She's a star. I do like this tag team with Ruby Riott. I actually enjoy it that Liv is not a part of it, even though at the same time, it seems like now what are they going to do? Make Liv the heel, even though she's the one that was the butt of all the abuse, and Ruby turned on her. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I'll wait and see. Truth backstage with Ricochet and Cedric. Congratulates Rick for winning the MVP of Raw. Obviously, it just means that he's fighting MVP on Raw tonight, and he goes, "That's what I said." Cedric plays into the mess to mess with Rick. Says Orton is the bigger issue. Truth says he wasn't challenged by Orton. He was challenged by Flair. They try to set him straight, and then he realizes now he's got to fight Orton instead of Ric Flair. So he walks off. He asks Tozawa to teach him how to be a black belt in about 7 minutes. Tozawa says no and tries to roll him up. Akira calls for the ninjas, and then Ricochet and Cedric show up. Ricochet's doing like a crane kick. Pretty funny. Truth challenges Akira to a match right now before his match with Orton. So we get a 24/7 match, or at least we think we're about to, between Truth and Akira Tozawa. Truth says, why does he have the ninjas with him when Truth came out solo? And then another return, which was just as surprising, Shayna Baszler's music hits. So Akira sends each of the ninjas after her. She just destroys each one of them. Says, no, I'm out, and leaves. And then Truth says he'll let himself out, tosses Shayna the mic, runs out of there. Shayna then cuts a really great promo saying she's been patient, but she's done being patient. Basically, they're all fooling themselves. She's about to shatter that illusion. She is that reality. It was a great promo. It was great to see her back. I mean, it would have been really cool, and I'm not the first one to say this, but I did think this initially, so, other people thought the same thing, which would have been really cool. If Shayna just beats the shit out of Truth, wins the 24/7 title, and then just fights people in the back because she thinks that they want to challenge her even if they don't. So that would have been pretty cool. So we get a recap of Ray and Seth backstage with Murphy looking confused about what happened. Seth asks what's wrong. He wants to know if they're literally going to blind each other. Seth says there's always sacrifice. Ray asked for this. Murphy should focus on his match tonight with Aleister Black. And Seth has a message to deliver. Seth is supposed to fight Kevin Owens. The rule for the match against Ray, you must extract the other's eye, we find out again. Seth promo, eye for an eye, over and over again, he keeps saying. Says he never meant to hurt Ray. Ray will never see anything again, his family, his wife, his kids, all that kind of stuff. KO's music hits, cuts him off. He's not sorry he cut him off. He had no clue Ray would pick that when he decided to do the match for the stipulation. Seth must be such a scumbag that he made Ray, who's universally loved and respected and just a genuine nice guy, that he wanted to take out the guy's eyes. But he's friends with Jean-Pierre Lafitte, PCO if you don't know. He's got an eye patch for Seth. Seth calls out Murphy, Black's music hits, they all fight on the apron, and then for some reason we decide to go to Black and Murphy's match, so everyone's confused, kind of like, well, what about Seth's match and KO? So we find out later that we're still going to get their match, we just don't know why the order went all, says it's an impromptu match between Black and Murphy, but we already knew it was happening, so, it was moved up, but I wouldn't say impromptu. Impromptu means that there was no idea that this match would happen. But so Black with some front kicks to the chest. Then we find out the match will be later on between KO and Seth. Murphy keeps going after the knees. Murphy off the middle rope catches a boot. V-trigger by Black. Black does the leg raise for the Black Mass, but Murphy counters. Murphy tries to suplex Black out of the ring, but it gets a Black Mass. He falls over the ropes into the ring. Murphy falls, and then Seth pulls Black off the pin for the DQ. So Black gets the DQ in, Ray's music hits, and he's with Dominic now. So we come back from break, we get Seth versus KO, and now he's outnumbered. We don't see where Murphy was because I think he's still, connecting his jaw. KO is in control to start. Seth begging for mercy because the match with Ray says, hey, I got this match with Ray. KO doesn't give a shit. Hits a cannonball for a 2 count. Seth to the outside, but he can't go anywhere, so he runs back into the ring. KO is sent outside, but Black and Dominic block Seth, and then while they're kind of blocking off, KO jumps in between them, goes surprise, punches Seth in the face, which I thought was funny. Seth tries to run to commentary. KO grabs him, throws him back in the ring, and He goes, they aren't going to help you. Great strategy, you dumbass. It was really funny, the commentary by KO. Seth with the chop block, then a suicide dive. He's in control now. Super kick to KO, both to the ground. DDT by KO for a 2 count. Super kick by KO. He goes for a pop-up powerbomb, but Seth gets the enziguri, and then a super kick of his own for 2 count. Goes for the stomp, and then misses. KO goes for the stunner, misses. Seth goes for the eyes. Everyone goes to distract Seth. So everyone jumps up on the apron to get his attention while he's, distracted. KO hits the stunner for the win. Ray then cuts a great promo about how he's going to take out his eye. So Show confronts Flair backstage. Spent 20 of his 48 years with the Show. That's Ric Flair talking. Thinks about Show when thinking about big guys. Flair says he should have stayed in Hollywood. Big Show knows what he tried to do. So he knows what he's trying to do. Is Flair willing to sacrifice his friendship so Orton can be the legend killer? Which makes Flair kind of, think about it. We get an Orton video package. We get a backstage promo by him. Show is risking his friendship to avenge Edge and Christian. He low-key threatens Flair, kind of like if Flair is involved too, whatever. He respects Truth, but he will kill another legend. Flair comes in, says, let's go get ready. And then Orton says, I'll be right there, and kind of stares off and kind of menacingly at where Flair is walking. So we get Truth versus Orton. Flair out with putting Truth over. Flair says Orton isn't going to punt him. He's just going to RKO him, which is great. Truth says he wants to talk to Flair. Orton goes after him, and Truth gets some shots in, and then gets a quick KO for the win. Truth didn't even get off his jacket or the belt before he got RKO'd. Flair tries to talk to Orton, tries to talk him out of doing more to Truth. Orton sets up for the punt, but then Flair gets in the way. Show comes out. Orton says he takes another step and he'll punt Truth. Orton challenges him next Monday to an unsanctioned match. I don't know why it's not on Extreme Rules. Orton bails, then Show runs in. We get Cedric and Ricochet backstage. MVP shows up as if Cedric got the gift. Rick doesn't know what he's talking about. Cedric says, don't worry about it. I'm not interested. So obviously he's trying to put a wedge in between them. So then we get an interview. MVP will win at the pay-per-view, and then they're going to celebrate big time. Sarah then runs over to see Drew, who's just standing milling about in the back. How will he deal without knowing the stipulation? Dolph attacks him as the refs try to break them apart. We get Lashley versus Ricochet. Yes. Oh, okay. So back when he said MVP of Raw, not that he was fighting MVP, but that he was fighting Lashley, who's with Ricochet. Anyway. Ricochet tries to move quick, trip on the apron and throw into the barricade with a springboard. Lashley catches him into the Dominator for a 2 count. Standing shooting star press by Ricochet for a 2 count. Super kick by Ricochet. He goes for a springboard, but he's caught into the full Nelson. Has to tap out. Cedric in, kicks MVP, then gets put in the full Nelson as well. Backstage interview with Big Show. And then he just screams that he's accepted the match. That was really it. And then we get our main event, the women's tag team title match, Sasha and Bayley versus the Kabuki Warriors. They played the same video package they showed on Smackdown for Bayley and Sasha. Double drop kick by the Kabuki Warriors sends them outside. Asuka and Bayley go at it. We get double knees to Bayley by Asuka. We get a double hip attack, keeps them on the outside. Asuka with yes kicks to Sasha for a 2 count. Bayley takes Asuka off the apron, allows Sasha to attack Kairi in the middle on the middle turnbuckle. We get a double slingshot on Kairi into the barricade, and it was a great camera angle because it was like right behind the plexiglass, so you see her actually come at it. It's pretty good. We get Asuka slides on the apron into a knee on Bayley. Sasha with a Meteora on Asuka in the corner for a 2 count. Double powerbomb on Asuka for a 2 count. We get the Asuka lock. Bayley speared by Kairi, which allows Sasha to get to the ropes. We get an insane elbow on Sasha. Bayley pulls her off the pin. Kairi with a forearm from the top. Hits an Alabama slam, then goes for a sliding forearm, countered into a very deep bank statement, and unfortunately Kairi has to tap. So the women's tag team titles are still on Sasha and Bayley. This happened to be a really great match. And now we're going to go to NXT. So for NXT, we have a recap of Lee and Cole from last week, shot of all these different wrestlers saying, kind of like doing like cameos, saying Keith Lee's name or saying something about it. It was kind of weird. We get Lee out to the ring, cutting a great promo that no one can be a self-made man. He's thanking his trainers in the WWE universe, and that everyone needed help, and his journey was, through other people helped him get there. Says that he's made friends, he's made enemies, he's made frenemies, but he calls out his number one frenemy, Dominik Dijakovic. He says that Dijakovic pushed him to his limits like no one else did, and if it wasn't for the series of matches between the two of them, he wouldn't be where he is right now, and it put him on the map. So he spoke to Regal, and Dijakovic will get the first shot at both titles, and it's going to happen tonight. And Dijakovic obviously is so happy for his friend, his frenemy. That's right. And then, at first he almost hesitates that he's going to take the match, and then Lee just says, just say yes. So he says yes. So we get Tegan arriving earlier. We then get the grudge match finally, Priest versus Grimes. Priest attacks first before the bell. Grimes diving drop kick to the outside. Grimes with the power slam, kind of Uranagi, for a 2 count. Grimes takes advantage during the picture-in-picture. He's turned inside out with a forearm. And then on the outside, Priest hits a razor's edge on Grimes on the apron, which looked rough. Priest hits a really high flatliner for a 2 count. Then Grimes hits his collision course, kind of flipping power slam for a 2 count. Priest stops Grimes from talking trash. While he was down. Grimes goes for the cave-in, but misses into the ropes. Priest with the reckoning, kind of a draping reckoning, while Grimes hangs there for the win. Priest says good luck to Lee and Dijak, and he's interested to see who wins. I mean, 3 of them had their time, so whatever. We get EO arriving. Then we get Thatcher's Thatch Can. Will teach what he taught to Oni, that every submission is a lesson to be learned. Puts the guy in the Fujiwara, and then does a little extra so the guy's screaming. He won the match, but also taught a lesson. We get Shotzi versus Indy Hartwell. Recap of running over Stone's leg, which was hysterical. And then for some reason, Tom Phillips becomes a Robert Stone brand apologist. I don't get it. Shotzi Tirana sending Indy into the middle turnbuckle. She's caught on the ropes, and Indy drop kicks her out of the ring. Does a reverse spling blade by Shotzi. Question mark kick, and then a senton while Indy's on the ropes. Stone comes out. He's in a walking boot. Shotzi hits a step-up knee and a DDT. Aaliyah trips Shotzi while she's on the top rope. Indy hits a big boot and gets the win. And apparently that's her first win on NXT television. So I don't know if this means like Indy Hartwell might be joining Robert Stone brand or what. But yeah, she got her first win. So obviously this sets up an Aaliyah-Shotzi feud, or at least a match. So we'll see what happens. Backstage interview with Tegan. Tonight is her night. She doesn't want to be just known as the comeback story. She wants to cement her legacy, all that kind of stuff. We get a awesome video package with Legado del Fantasma. They're kind of like in the lounge, or like the the vestibule, I don't know, I guess it's a lounge, or like the bottom floor of a hotel or something like that, a bar. They're kind of just hanging out, toasting to their win and the end of Drake Maverick. They don't forget about Breezango, and then Fantasma puts over both Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, talking about their accolades. The Cruiserweight division needed a leader, and he is going to be that leader. I thought this was fantastic. I really like the way that they're handling them right now, making them strong, making them look great. We get another Lee recap video, and then we get our our first title match of the NXT and North American title of Lee versus Dijak. This is definitely not as good as some of their matches in the past, but it was a very good match. I think this was more to establish both Lee is just so much better now than he was back then, and for Dijak, I guess, get some more exposure before, as we've heard that he might be being moved up, or he's been moved up. So we'll say test of strength, a lot of gamesmanship between the two of them. Moonsault attempt countered into a feast your eyes attempt. Dijak goes for time to fly, but he can't get Lee up. Lee pounces Dijak to the outside. We get a twisting flatliner by Lee for a 2 count. We then get a cyclone boot by Dijak for a 2 count. Lee hits a one-arm slam, which was really impressive for a guy Dijak size. He then hits the Big Bang Catastrophe for the win. Huge show of respect between the two. The lights go out. Scarlett shows up now. Walks to the ring with a bag in her hand. She dumps out what are the contents, are pieces of the hourglass that Lee smashed during his feud with Adam Cole. There's a stare down between Scarlett and Lee. Scarlett goes all the way to the top of the ramp, looks back, and they're just watching each other. We see Io getting ready for the match. Backstage interview with Dijak says Cross is no Lee, that Lee is on a completely other level right now. That's not the same Keith Lee that he knew. So he's super proud of him. Cross shows up. He says something in, I believe, Croatian, which I thought was great because he said it and then Dijak was like, all right, let's do it. And they start to brawl to the back, and then Cross ends up throwing him into a road case where he goes down, and Cross stands tall. We find out we're going to get that match next week. We get Thatcher versus Denzel Dejanay, which we hadn't seen him for a little while. I mean, he was literally on every show a while back when they were at the very beginning of the empty arena shows. Dejanay was like a weekly jobber. Yeah, I wrote that. Really trying to stay with Thatcher. It was actually really good because he has a very good amateur background. Obviously, Thatcher does too. So they were doing a lot of just catch wrestling, which was cool. But Thatcher eventually gets the single leg crab. Dejanay taps. He goes back to it, and then Oni comes out and just blindside shoulder tackles Thatcher right off him, which I thought was great. But obviously, this rivalry isn't over. We get Rhea says she's I guess this was in a tweet saying she's done with Stone and she's focused on getting her title back. Okay, cool. Earlier today with Robert Stone, so he goes to apologize to Killian Dane for the coffee, and Aaliyah shows up with a drawing from Dexter Lumis that has a bunch of different things, and one of them is Killian Dane getting coffee on him. Says if Stone wants to make it up to him, get him a match with Lumis. So next week we get Killian Dane versus Lumis and Cross versus Dijak, which would be two really good matchups. Then we get our main event, the NXT Women's title, Io versus Tegan. Tegan won't even get into the intros because she's ready to fight. Tegan staying moving with lots of pinning attempts. PK kick from the apron misses. Io trips her on the apron. Crossbody by Io countered into a fallaway slam with a bridge for a 2 count, which I thought was pretty cool. They start slugging it out. Big headbutt by Tegan, and then hits a flapjack, and then Io hits a flapjack for a 2 count. Tegan put in the crossface during picture-in-picture. Tegan thrown to the steps. Io goes for a double knees, but Tegan avoids. Tegan goes for a choke slam, countered into a tiger driver backbreaker. Io selling the knee. German bridge by Io for a 2 count. Io gets crotched on the top rope, going for the moonsault. She falls into the tree of woe, and Tegan goes for the cannonball. Io gets to the rope to break the pin. Cannonball crossbody by Tegan for a 2 count. Choke slam, finally hits her choke slam for a 2 count. Lady Kane. Another German release by Io into the corner, just missed the turnbuckle. That was scary. We get double knees, the 619, and then a missile dropkick all in succession by Io for a 2 count. We get a suplex, but it's a face plant by Tegan. Goes for the Molly go round, only gets a 2 count. She goes for the shiniest wizard, but as she gets close, Io hits her with the Shotai face palm strike, and then hits the moonsault for the win. But it wasn't really a very clean moonsault, but she still hit enough for the win. As she goes up the ramp, kind of backs up and then gets a big boot from Dakota Kai to end the show. So now, I guess, we're saying Io is pretty much fully a face at this point. It's just funny how Io and the Kabuki Warriors, all of them just turned face out of nowhere. This was good. Tegan didn't really look like she had any chance in this. It was just like anytime she really, Io almost looked like she was just playing around with her at this point, which sucks because I really like Tegan Knox, but Io needs to be put on that other level, so I'm fine with it. Alright, and then finally, last night's Smackdown. Let me just see what we're at here time-wise. Not too bad. So we get AJ and Riddle promos. Riddle no longer has the element of surprise. What does AJ stand for? Arrogant jerk, or something like that. Then we get Brian with another cameo talking about the match. We get Alexa Bliss with the promo talking about who her mystery guest is. Miz and Morrison just absolutely talking ridiculous. Something about Jean-Claude Van Damme in a yacht and Morrison beating him up, which I thought was hysterical. We get Braun with a promo, and then we get Shinsuke and Cesaro with a promo, and then we get the New Day with a promo, and then that goes right into their intro. And we get our first match is Big E versus Cesaro, and we find out that the winner will pick the stipulation for the match. Apparently, there was some unnamed poll where it went between a steel cage and a tables match, and it was too close to call, so that's why they did this, which I think is ridiculous because, one, no one saw a poll. Two, you've been teasing tables for the past several weeks. Like, I don't get it. Anyway, they knocked Corey's headphones off, throwing their jackets the New Day. A recap of last week. Apparently there was a poll. Yeah, whatever. Cesaro thrown into the steps. Big E spears him as well into the steps, which looked rough. Big E gets posted when they're back in the ring. Power slam by Cesaro for a 2 count. Big E starts hitting a bunch of belly to bellies and then a big splash. Then hits the big splash on the apron. Uranagi in the corner by Big E for a 2 count. We get the spear through the ropes attempt countered with the boot. And then we get a springboard European uppercut by Cesaro for a 2 count. Big E hits the muffler stretch, which is countered into the Cesaro swing and the sharpshooter, and then transitions into the crossface. So this was actually a really good succession of moves by both Big E and Cesaro. Nakamura attacks Kofi on the outside. Big E powers out of the crossface into a big ending attempt. Nakamura gets a kick on Big E while the ref is turned around. Cesaro hits the neutralizer for the win. They go for the table, but Kofi hits a tope con hero. Kofi then sets up a table on the outside, puts Cesaro on the table, and before he jumps off of Big E's shoulders, Nakamura gets Cesaro. We then get a backstage interview with Baron Corbin. Kayla brings up Riddle. He picks AJ tonight. Riddle's just in the honeymoon phase. We get another backstage promo with Nakamura and Cesaro. They pick a tables match, obviously. Something about not wanting the New Day to have like sex with the gyrating all over the steel cage, which is stupid. We get a moment of bliss. 5-year anniversary of the Women's Evolution. Blistradamus. Lakers win. Riddle wins the IC title. Braun will win. Nikki thinks Bliss is the guest. I don't know. Are you nuts? Bayley, Sasha come out. Bliss goes to Nikki to say they're not the guests either. So they didn't give credit to Bayley and Sasha, who basically built the Evolution. Bayley predicts they will both win on Sunday. Asuka's music hits. She's going to be the special guest. Bayley and Sasha attack. Asuka comes in to clear house. Bliss says they need to settle this out and ask for a ref. And then lo and behold, we come back from commercial and it's a match. Before that, though, we see backstage Riddle warming up with Drew Gulak. And then we get another cameo by Bryan talking about his special trainer, which we see as Drew Gulak. We then get Asuka and Cross versus Bayley and Sasha. Just cut to mostly the end here. Nikki eventually gets a hot tag. Monkey flip to Sasha, running bulldog. Missed top rope crossbody by Nikki. Nikki catches Bayley on top. Nikki thrown to the outside. Nikki with the tornado DDT on the outside. Sasha goes after Asuka and misses the tag from Bayley. And so instead, like, Bayley's like looking for the tag. Sasha goes after Asuka down on the floor, and she can't get the tag. Eventually, Nikki goes for another DDT, and then Bayley rolls her up and puts her feet on the ropes for the win. There was one point where they were Asuka and Nikki were dancing on the commentary table, which I thought was funny. This is good. It doesn't look great for Nikki, though. She you'll see later, she has a very low opinion of herself after everything that's been going on. We get backstage with Miz and Morrison. They're movie guys, and they know that the hero always slays the monster. And then Morrison says, well, there's always the best friend who will take on the monster if the hero can't. And then Miz is like, yeah, I guess I don't watch horror movies then, because I don't know what that is. We get a Firefly Funhouse. Transitions to the swamp. Old Bray humming, he's got the whole world in his hands. Braun was a lost sheep looking for a home. Bray created him. Then he left, or so he thought. Once you enter, you'll never leave this swamp. The monster is still there, waiting to come out for Braun. We then get Morrison versus Braun. Braun promo. Comes a time to face his fears. Will slap the devil in his face. Just starts like fucking just going off. And you could just, the way that Morrison and Miz were selling like what the fuck is going on was really funny. he doesn't. He wants to destroy Bray before he turns into the Fiend. Braun is just destroying Morrison. Hits the Anaconda Lock into a power slam for the win. Braun grabs a mic. Deep voice says he's coming and laughs. Miz calls in for EMTs to help with Morrison. Eventually, he gets Morrison on, kind of like holding him and helping him up the ramp. Lacey Evans' music walks past and doesn't even like let them get to the back before she goes. We get Lacey Naomi. I mean, this is just so dumb because Lacey's now heel, no reason, whatever. Lacey with a microphone, the glow will become a sparkle, tosses Naomi, slide into a slap. Essentially, this just turns into Lacey tying Naomi's hair into the rope, so when the ref goes to help untangle her, she turns and catches the women's right for the win. I don't want to talk about the karaoke, so... Backstage interview with Hardy, risk worth taking to make Sheamus look foolish, bittersweet picking a winner for the IC match since he was supposed to be in it and was robbed of it by Sheamus, falsifying a crime and to frame somebody, but clearly that they didn't care. So then Sheamus shows up and bro kicks Jeff Hardy for his blind side. Jeff's on the floor. Sheamus sits down next to him, says, we'll see you next week. So apparently this match is not happening at Extreme Rules or the horror show at Extreme Rules. Okay, so whatever. Backstage interview with Bayley and Sasha. Bayley's going over the momentum equation is mass times velocity or something like that. And then, you see with these two belts, that means I got more mass. Pretty funny. Nikki's watching it. She's frustrated. Her confidence is shaken. She then hears Bayley and Sasha nearby. She goes after Bliss. She goes after Bayley, and Bliss and Sasha help kind of break it up. And then we get our main event, the IC title match. AJ versus Riddle. AJ with roll through gut wrenches. Springboard knee by Riddle with AJ on the apron. AJ's frustrated, slamming on the announce desk. Riddle comes out to mock him and get a shot in. Riddle dominated during the break. Fisherman suplex by Riddle for a 2 count. We get a dragon screw by AJ on Riddle. AJ grinding down on Riddle. That was poor phrasing. We get AJ goes for the clash, but Riddle counters. Ripcord final flash knee by Riddle. Floating bro misses. We then get a brainbuster by AJ from the outside to the inside for a 2 count. He goes for a fireman's carry, Ushigoroshi, for a 2 count. And then we get the bro Derek attempt by Riddle, fails. He gets put in the calf crusher by AJ, but he reverses it eventually into a bro mission. AJ's able to roll up Riddle deep for the win. And then you could see it on AJ's face. He was impressed. He said that was close. Even goes to shake Riddle's hand. They shake hands, but while they're doing that, Corbin attacks. And AJ kind of looks like he's going to get in. And he's like, nah, fuck this. This is not my fault. Not my problem. So he then leaves the ring. Corbin attacks, hits an end of days. And that is the end of SmackDown. Not sure why we would finish on that as they go home to a pay-per-view, since neither of them are in a match, unless that becomes a match, maybe on the kickoff or the actual show. I don't know. But yeah, overall, decent show. The week was pretty decent. There was nothing too glaringly bad. Not like last week, the worst SmackDown ever. Ratings are down, though, unfortunately, for both SmackDown and Raw. AEW beat them in the ratings overall and in the ever-important 18-49 demo, the demo god. So I'm going to give my match of the week, and I'm going to give it to the women's tag team title match from Raw of Sasha and Bayley versus Kabuki Warriors, in which Sasha and Bayley retained. I just thought it was a fantastic match. A lot going on. There's a lot of storyline elements. Kairi obviously being the kind of odd woman out, as she does not have any feuds currently or matches. But she looked great. Hopefully this is enough to keep her in the United States. Obviously, her husband is in Japan, I believe, so it's not easy for her. But anyway, yeah, so there is my match of the week. And I will be doing my preview and predictions for the horror show at Extreme Rules later today. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, social media down there. As always, be safe, love each other, and bye now.